Oh yeah. Well, the great Les Brown, he gave a really great presentation once. He called it "It's Possible," and there are just good things that are meant to happen to all of us. There is something special in all of us, and there is greatness in us. So it truly is possible for us to realize our dreams. That's number one. Number two, it's necessary. You just won't be your most joyful self. You won't be your most fulfilled self until you find that purpose and that mission and that dream that's sitting on the shelf collecting dust. Until you get that down, until you start working at it, you're just not going to be your most happy self. So it's necessary for you that you go after it, and then it's you. You know, it's your dream, it's your vision, and there's going to be people around you who just can't see it for themselves, so they can't see it for you. So they're going to try to convince you that you can't do it, that it's not possible, because it's their belief set that they're trying to reflect on you, and they're just trying to keep you safe. So don't judge them for that. That's just their belief set. Go after it. You know you can do it, and it's going to start with you. It's going to finish with you, and it's your dream and vision. No one else is going to have that same visibility that you have. You know, those are pretty powerful principles.
This is the Play Your Position podcast, where we huddle up, call the plays, and inspire you to run your ball into the end zone. Are you ready to score more game-winning touchdowns in your life, business, and career? Then listen up, because it's game time, baby. Now, here's your host, Mary Lou Kaiser.
Hello, Team PYP. Mary Lou Kaiser here. It is game day at the Play Your Position podcast, and I'm excited that you've decided to join us for what's going to be a really fun and high-energy conversation. I am talking to a very accomplished human named Judd Armstrong, who is coming to us today from Australia. So, Judd, are you ready for kickoff?
I'm ready for kickoff, Mary Lou. In football in Australia, we pull our socks up, striped socks. I have my socks up, laces done. Let's kick off.
Let's kick off. So, Team, Judd is really an interesting person. And here's some things that I know about him. First of all, he is passionate about entrepreneurship. He is a visionary and is innovating things as we speak. He's going to be sharing some of his newest projects with us today. The thing about Judd that really impresses me is he saw a space in the market with premium headphone brands way back. 20 years ago, we're talking. And he built a great brand that competed with Beats and Bose. And the name of his company was JayBird. He eventually sold JayBird to Logitech for, get ready for it, $95 million in 2016, which then freed him up to take some time off and spend some time on a farm. And there it was about independence and self-sufficiency. But you know what? Judd is such an entrepreneur. He cannot stay away from coming up with new ideas and doing some interesting things. So he got involved with trading Bitcoin, and he is teaching people how to do that in a way that isn't, underhanded. He just is a straightforward, straight shooter kind of guy. And he's developing some apps, which he's going to be telling us about today. But what I really love about Judd is he is all about positive thinking and leadership and showing up and being your best every single day, which is completely in line with what we talk about here at PYP. So, Judd, welcome to the show.
Mary Lou, thank you. Thank you very much.
Yes. So right out of the gate, I would love for you to share with listeners when you got the call to leadership, Judd, and what is it like to be you as a leader in, right now you're in the app space, but if you want to give us a broader view of your journey, that's fine too.
Yeah, okay. I'm such a goofball. Like I love to throw myself into situations where I have no idea what I'm doing. Vincent van Gogh, he said, if you hear a voice within you that says, I'm not a painter, then by all means paint and it will be silenced.
Wow. Love that.
Yeah, it's a powerful quote. And before I started JayBird and we led that wireless headphone revolution and shift in the world, I had no idea anything to do with headphones and electronics. I'd done nothing like that. And it was scary, really unnerving and unfamiliar. And for a lot of us, when we try something that's unfamiliar, it just doesn't seem right to us and we back off, right? And so we tend to just live in what we know. And so many people in the world of entrepreneurship, or rather corporate life especially, like to farm their success, right? So they'll kind of become an expert in something and they just polish that and farm that. And when you consider yourself an expert, you can never really grow. But when you consider yourself a student of your craft and you're always learning and progressing, and a lot of entrepreneurs are like that rather than the corporate world. And, we're always trying to learn and evolve and to provide some new great thing for mankind. And Thomas Mann said that we should be ashamed to die until we have done some great thing for mankind. And I love that quote too.
Oh man, you're going to be dropping some quote bombs on us. I have a feeling today. Oh, I love it. I love it. And your spirit of entrepreneurship is infectious. I watched the video that you have on YouTube in preparation for our chat today, Judd. And right away, I could tell you are loaded with energy. You are excited about life. You are enthusiastic about coming up with new ideas and pursuing those callings that oftentimes do start in our guts as, oh, you would never be able to do X or Y, like you shared with us on Vincent van Gogh, that the painter. And so here you are today. You are leading two new apps, if you will, movements. Tell us about what's going on right now in your world.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, first of all, if you've ever had a boss, we've all been an employee at some point, whether now or in the past. And some bosses just want to protect you, and keep you as the employee. But a lot of bosses out there, including me, I've always wanted to help everyone get ahead financially. And I remember going back many years when house flipping seems to be the trend and something that was accessible for everyone to do, and to do up a house and make it much better and then sell it for a higher price and to offer value to the buyer who was buying the house. And I was trying to encourage employees to consider doing that, or maybe it was stock market, or maybe it was this or that, or getting after their own dream and aspiration that they have in their life. But I've always wanted to help people financially. That's just been a big thing for me. And when I sold JayBird, it was not about the dollar signs, it was about the freedom, and it was about the complete independence and not to have to depend upon an employer or even a government for getting through life. It was a powerful thing. And I'd love for everyone to experience that. So there's winners and losers in life, but there's so many people who are winners, but just need a little help, a little guidance, just a little bit of a helping hand to get there. And as I've been farming, which, oh my goodness, how good is getting on a tractor for a few hours and just chilling after 10 years of running a headphone company.
Yes. What a shift for you. But I bet it was amazing.
It was good. It was good. And during that time, in the evenings, I'd go check out Bitcoin and see what was going on with that. I used to actually trade stocks and options before JayBird. This is 15 years ago. So getting back into trading is one of my passions and I love it. And just to be able to look at a chart and see pictures and a story behind all the little movements in price. Like, to a lot of people, that's random and totally chaotic, but there's actually a lot of mathematics. You look at nature and it's God's fingerprint. Like, everything is designed. Look up golden ratio, look up Fibonacci sequences.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I love that. Yes.
Oh, it's incredible.
Yes.
And so that's all in trading and it's all in a Bitcoin chart. Anyway, so I found a method that is derived from all those mathematical formula behind everything. And it's about 12 trades a year. And it's really lifestyle friendly for people. And it's doubling money every 6 months. That's what it's done historically. You never know what it's going to do in the future, but historically, that's what it's been doing. And I thought, well, why don't I just create an app and I could have a small community of people who are also freedom fighters, who are also, they know the battle and the struggle of getting ahead financially in life. And they truly want to create that freedom for themselves and their dependents, the children or the spouse or the partner they have in their life. And they really want to get ahead and they just need that extra little boost, that little strategy to help them get there. And this is it. It's Unlisted. So you can check it out, unlisted.io. I'm only going to 1,000 people. We're at 300 now, and we've only been going for a couple of months on the app. So if this is kind of resonating with you, you've got to go check it out because it's not going to be around too long.
Yeah. So talk to us about cryptocurrency. Bitcoin is the most famous name. It's kind of like Kleenex, right? Or some of the name brands like that one is stuck around. There's others if you have ever dabbled in crypto, but what is it about cryptocurrency, Judd, that excites you, given that, for centuries, we've been a cash society. We've had some kind of physical currency, and crypto is the future. And it's coming at us much faster than I think a lot of people recognize. So what is it about that space that made your eyes light up?
Well, there's two sides to it, Mary Lou. There's one is the currency side, which is the use case side of it. And I don't really take much interest in that side. And that is like, hey, will Bitcoin become a big thing one day? I don't know if it will or not. But on the trading side of things, there is so much nice movement in Bitcoin up and down. It's fairly new still. And so there's a lot of good volatility in there and it bounces around a fair bit. And because of that, it's just, think of it as another currency, just like my Australian dollar changes in value against the US dollar, so does Bitcoin. It's the same thing. And you can buy and you can sell and you can make money both directions. And that's the powerful thing. It's a once in a multi-generational opportunity where our parents and our grandparents and our great-grandparents never had an opportunity to multiply money the way we do right now. And it's not going to be around for very long either, because Bitcoin will mature and it will become more commoditized and it'll slow down and it won't move as much. So it's a small window where we have a very small percentage of the planet's population have a really amazing opportunity here to grow money. Like as an illustration, if you started with $5,000 and you grew that and doubled it every 6 months, over 4 years, pull out a calculator, over 4 years, so that's 8 doublings, that gets to $1 million. And that's the power of this multiplying of money. It's pretty cool.
It's fabulous. It's so fascinating. And it speaks to our times. It speaks to the fact that these things are shifting quickly. And as you look around at the world, Judd, one of my key questions is, what are some of the challenges that you're currently facing as a leader?
What are some of the challenges that leaders are facing today? Well, I think a lot of people nowadays are content. They're happy, somewhat happy in their life, but they're not fulfilled. There's something missing from their life. And so many of us are living this way where, life seems okay on the surface, but you get home and something's missing. Something is not there and you can't put your finger on what it is. And so you'll bounce between Twitter and Facebook and get a little boost of excitement. You might go play a video game, or you might go call a friend and have a chat with your friend. And, you'll post a picture of your cat on social media. You get some likes and, it's all kind of just one thing leads to another. And underneath it all, there's something missing. And as leaders, it's really important that we can help. We need strong leadership in this world, and there's less and less of it. There's less character in leadership nowadays. It's more about what's in it for me and, people having agendas. And really it comes down to the family unit is so important in the world today, because you look at broken homes and you look at the children coming up without the role models that they need in their life to teach them the true way to true joy and to true happiness. It's not as available today, and it's really sad to see. But on the positive side, there are such great families really advocating that to their children. And that's the great thing to see today, is that there's still these soldiers of parents, who are trying to raise their children in the principles that take us to happiness. And what are those? Well, the most important one is, Viktor Frankl said, when a person can't find a deep sense of meaning, they distract themselves with pleasure or pastimes. Do you see that? You see that a lot, right?
Oh, is that going on in our society? And not just here in the States. It's obviously happening where you live too.
Yeah, absolutely. And when we fill ourselves with those things, we're looking for the weekend all the time, or we're looking for after work all the time. And if we can replace that with a purpose, where instead of serving ourselves and living for ourselves, we can actually find a cause that is greater than us and find something that really lights us up. Victor Hugo says, those who live are those who fight. And you look at anyone who has done anything meaningful in this world, and someone that you look up to, maybe it's Dr. Martin Luther King, or maybe it's some other great role model like Oprah Winfrey or something like that, right? Someone like that. They have found a purpose to their life, and it involves service to others. Actually, Oprah says that if you haven't found your purpose in life, you're just wandering around here, not contributing to anything.
It's true. Yes, that's one of her famous sayings. I'm curious, Judd, When you look at the Judd you were when you first founded JayBird and were just starting that journey to who you are today, what do you notice are the most significant differences and points of growth in yourself?
So with Unlisted project, which is, it's not about Bitcoin, it's not about the money, it's about the financial freedom and the ability to live life with more purpose and to live life on your own terms, right? As we ask people as they come in, what is it that drives them most about wanting to get there? The most people just say, hey, I don't want to have to worry about stuff anymore. I just want to be able to live life on my own terms, which is an inward looking motivation, which is fine because that's where I was with JayBird. You know, it's like Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Once you experience those things in your life and once you are freed up from that survival mode, we're not here to survive, we're here to thrive. And once you start thriving, you realize that it's no longer about being freed up because you have been in bondage, yes. And now once you are free, well, whoa, hang on, the whole world just opened up to me. And I realized that my purpose is not to be free. My purpose is to be free and then serve and then find great joy and fulfillment in serving and lifting and contributing to the greater good. And in the process, stretching yourself and becoming a greater human being and going through that refining process of character and coming out the other end as a greater, noble person. And so to answer your question, when I started JayBird, it was still about trying to break free. And then once that 10 years evolved, that was a big, long journey of a lot of hardship, but beautiful joys towards, you know, all the way through, but especially towards the end as we started to achieve this great dream of changing the world and making it wireless and liberating that whole sacred moment of our day when we're running or working out or having some personal time, just us and our music, and making that completely liberated and wireless. That was amazing. We made a renaissance of that moment in our day. Having done all of that and looking back, I realized that that was truly a life calling and something that was really exciting to be a part of with the great team that was around me. But yeah, having come to where I am now, I realized that, now that I'm freed up financially, I'm able to focus more on purposes and to look around and help and serve others. And it's so awesome. Like, you are so much happier. You are more of yourself. You know, so many of us don't even know who we are. We have just scratched the surface of discovering who we are. And when you know your identity, truly know your identity, and we often place our identity in the wrong places and things, but when we are founded on the right principles, we know our potential. We know there's greatness in us. We know there's something special that we can do. And we start discovering that and having the guts to go and try to poke and prod and excavate our life and work out what it is we should be doing here. That's when we really are joyful.
Would you say that when you look back at yourself as a little boy, Judd, have you always had more of a sunny disposition, more of an optimistic, futuristic? I mean, can you think back to when you were little? Or did that evolve as you matured and had experiences in life?
I was really shy when I was little. I had a massive blushing problem.
I can relate to that. I had it too.
Yeah. Yeah. Like even in high school, like if the teacher, I'd put my hand up to answer something and the teacher would say, yeah, Judd. And I'd say my question, whatever that was. And maybe I was just a little bit nervous, so I didn't quite elaborate it very well. So he would ask me to elaborate further, and then, oh my goodness, just the blush came on, and everyone, all my mates, they were like, Judd, your ears are turning red. Yeah. So, you know, like we all start off with these little quirks and things, and you just have to work through them. And you know what's really fascinating, Mary Lou, is in the first 0 to 7 years of our life, have you heard that we're in hypnosis state, in theta brainwave state that whole time?
Yes.
That's writing our subconscious, right? That's the program of life. We're just taking it all in. And it turns out that as we grow into an adult, 95% of all of the things we do, all the things we think and feel and believe about ourselves and about life, it's all subconscious. And you might think, nah, no way. Well, look at the way that you react, the triggers that trigger you. You're not deciding to do those things. They're almost automatic to you. You know, when maybe your partner just says something the wrong way, or your child does something, or your coworker, that coworker you just can't stand just triggers you the way that they trigger you. That's all subconscious. And it turns out how do we do that? Like if life has created this or we have created this, how do we change and how do we evolve? And if you've ever tried to overcome something, there's something in us and about us that each of us doesn't like. Like there's something about ourselves that we just don't accept and embrace. And sometimes we need to embrace that and know, hey, look, it's all right to be imperfect, but also to know that, hey, we can be better than that. And the next step we need to take is to realize that, hey, we go through that same hypnosis theta brainwave state as we drift off to sleep. So Mary Lou, you and I, last night, as we drifted off to sleep, we went through theta brainwave state and we actually updated our subconscious programming with all of the thoughts, feelings, and beliefs that we carried with us throughout the day. And this morning when we woke up, we did the exact same thing. We go deep into delta, then back up through theta. So it turns out that you can actually prime your mind with the things, the thoughts, the beliefs, the affirmations, and the things that you would like and desire for your life. All those positive things can be primed before those twice a day rewrites. So I was actually at an advanced workshop with Dr. Joe Dispenza. I assume you know Dr. Joe.
Yes, Joe Dispenza. Uh-huh.
Yeah, he teaches a lot of great neuroscience.
He does.
Dr. Bruce Lipton, yeah. And we did this mind movie. And so I actually did it in iMovie. You can do this in iMovie. Write your affirmations down in present tense, do an image, put a soundtrack behind it, and watch this. Make it a 2-minute little mind movie with all of the things that you'd like in your life, and write them as present tense, and watch them as you go to sleep and watch them as you wake up. And over a few months, you'll find a transformation that is really remarkable. Things that came out in my life a few months later were really remarkable, actually. That was how I came up with Unlisted Project is one thing. I was writing down things like, I'm going to grow money by X number of times each year, and it's going to be through Bitcoin, and thousands of people are going to come to me and learn how to do the same thing. And a few months later, out comes this system of trading Bitcoin. It was absolutely incredible and mind-blowing to see it all play out.
It's halftime here at the Play Your Position podcast, and we've got ourselves a great game. While you're up grabbing another snack and topping off your favorite beverage, make sure to subscribe to the show so you never miss another play. PYP is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever great podcasts can be found. Now, let's get back to the game.
Thank you for describing that process and also giving all of us this, that it's never too late, because some people do. They get into that fixed sense of, well, I had a crummy childhood, or I can never go back and erase those first 7 years. Actually, you may not be able to completely erase it, but I loved your word rewrite. Rewrite the scripts. Create new neural pathways in your brain. That's about awareness. And there comes a point when you just have it. You just have it. Like it's suddenly, you can compare yourself to however many years ago, right? That's why I'm always fascinated by asking the question I asked you earlier about compare yourself to the Judd who was just getting started with JayBird to the Judd who is now in 2020 on the other side of that 10-year journey, having sold the company, financially independent, having that you're not at the bottom of Maslow's pyramid. It's really hard at that level to see anything other than how am I going to get through this day? How am I going to make sure there's food on my table? How am I going to make sure that, we don't become homeless, right? And then you go up that level. But to your point, there's a lot of stories of people who are at that bottom layer of the pyramid and they learn what you just described and it changes their life faster than anything else they've ever done.
Yeah. There's these neurological connections that we create that create highways. Just, of course, our mind's going to go the path of least resistance. And if you've got highways that you've reinforced through the continual thoughts and emotions going a certain direction in your life, and it all starts in childhood. If your parents raised you a certain way that, hey, life is tough and you're stupid or you're ugly, whatever it might be. And if you reinforce that yourself through your teenage years and into your adult life, your brain has massive Autobahn highways going a certain direction. How are you going to take a side street and go off road and create a new track for yourself? You got to put in the work. And Thomas Edison, he said, opportunity is missed by most people, because it's dressed in overalls and it looks a lot like work.
I love you
true.
are so good at dropping these quotes. They're wonderful.
They're so powerful, aren't they? They're great.
They are. And what I love about them too is that the ones you've shared so far, for the most part, are 100, 200 years old, right? So it just shows you that humanity doesn't change all that much. It's just the tools and the techniques that we have, but the human experience is the human experience. And here you are, Judd, you have raised your hand and said yes to life in a huge way, but things don't always go according to plan, do they? So I would love for you to tell us a story about a time when you metaphorically got sacked, the ball was intercepted, or you fumbled the ball. What happened and how did you recover?
Yeah, well, first of all, I love how you said how the human life experience doesn't ever really change. And so many people don't understand that. You know, we think, oh, look, we're on the cutting edge of life and things are just different to what they were 200 years ago. No, they aren't. It's the same thing.
Yes.
That's truth bomb right there. All right, where do I start? The first time I ever tried to start my own business, I left a job where I was earning really minimal money. I think it was $10 an hour or something. And my wife and I were living in a 1-bedroom apartment. We had a newborn child, and Miriam, my wife, she was working in a hospital as a radiological technician taking x-rays. And I said to her, babe, I want to start this new thing. And she was really supportive. It was really great. And I went out on my own, stopped work, which was kind of silly, actually, very silly, actually. You should really start your side hustle as a side hustle.
I don't think true entrepreneurs understand that, but go ahead.
We had a couple of credit cards and, we were putting money on those, trying to start the business and also living. So, $30,000 later, I'm out in Chicago with a business deal. And we actually made a video about this recently. It's on my Facebook channel. And my card was declined. And I realized that I had totally maxed out all my credit cards.
Oh,
and here I am out in Chicago. I hit rock bottom. I was staying in a youth hostel because I couldn't afford hotels and it was dirty.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
The bathrooms just made you want to vomit. And there were bed bugs and it was just horrible. And here I am just maxed out on credit cards, realized that I've reached the end of my credit road and I had not a single customer, not one. And I had to call Miriam, my wife, and say, she's back in Utah. And I said, babe, I've maxed out. I got no money. I can't even jump on a plane to come home to you. And it took me ages to work up to that call because here I am, I'm supposed to be providing and she's having to provide for me, of course, which is great and wonderful. But as a man, it's,
yes.
you need to be able to be, bring home the bacon, and here I am just stuck. And she had to send me some money and she was wonderful, very gracious. And she was very supportive. And she sent me some money. I was able to get home. I went back and worked in a call center, earning another $10 an hour and just taking collection calls. And it was just the worst thing to realize that I had failed at getting off the ground. It was my first ever really attempt. So if I had this no built into me from childhood, then I would have just given up and no one would have ever seen JayBird, and perhaps the wireless headphone revolution still would have come around, but it would have come around in a different way. It's so important not to give up. And Denzel Washington, another quote for you.
I love it.
Washington,
Gotta get Denzel in the conversation.
He said that when there's that itch placed in your heart, we all have some dream or aspiration that's sitting on the shelf and collecting dust. And we know we just got to do that thing, but we just hold ourselves back because that little no that's in us. And he says, I love this quote because I found it to be true. And he says that itch that is placed in your heart is God's promise sent to you beforehand to tell you that it's already yours.
Oh, I love that. I'm going to have to look that one up. That's beautiful.
It's good.
It is good.
In that call center is when I just found just that drive and that hunger. Les Brown says, you got to be hungry. Mm-hmm. And so I found that hunger because I realized where I landed myself back into it. And I just, this big no came out of me, essentially in the different kind of no where it's, no, I'm not going to take this. I'm going to get back on that saddle. And right. I know that I can do this. I feel like it's in my heart. And so gradually over the next few years, we built something really special. and was a medical record retrieval business, which is completely boring. But at least it was a really great service to the world. And it was the bleeding edge of digital medical records. We sold it back to a company that I used to work for, and it gave me a little bit of money to live for a couple of years and start a new company called JayBird, that little brand that went against the big boys. It was fun.
Yes. So, Judd, I want to clarify something. Were you living stateside when you created JayBird? Are you in Australia? Did I make a mistake there?
Yeah, we were living in the States when we first got married, had all our 4 kids in America. When I sold that first company, we moved back to Australia. We started JayBird. And I'm actually over in the States right now, but we normally live in Australia.
Okay. And what part of Australia?
It's called the Sunshine Coast because there's lots of sunshine.
Nice. Yeah, I've only been to Sydney and then up to Picton. So that's as much as of Australia that I have seen.
Picton.
Picton is cool. And we stayed at a little hostel there, and it was not gross. It was actually beautiful. And there was all these wonderful birds, and we saw just gorgeous, gorgeous scenery. It was very peaceful and lovely. So it's been a long, long time since I was there. But okay, so you're talking to a stateside, but you obviously are Australian. Your accent for us Americans gives you away, and it's wonderful. I love my international guests because you do bring a perspective that is slightly different from, we Americans born and bred here. So yeah, going back to your story about hitting rock bottom and being maxed out on credit cards, but that didn't stop you. And honestly, a true entrepreneur isn't going to be stopped by something as drastic as that. And here you are again, all these years later with quite a few successes under your belt. Moving forward, just looking into your crystal ball, Judd, what do you think we are in for in the next 5 years or so from a leadership standpoint, in terms of, I guess, business leadership? You mentioned earlier, the world is really struggling right now for strong leadership. What can listeners do to change that?
Well, that's a really profound question. Most of us live in the present. Some of us live in the past with regrets or memories. And typically an entrepreneur will live in the future because while a lot of people are planning their weekend, the entrepreneur is planning their livelihood and planning for all kinds of different scenarios that may play out in the future. And if you're a good operator as an entrepreneur, you've already got your plan in place for what might happen in certain situations and you know what you're going to do. And you're already positioning your business and your employees and everything right now to handle a very rough 2021 if that were to happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of uncertainty in the world right now, and it goes back to like the monetary system of the whole planet. It's just paper. Like there's no value to the monetary system, and it's just we're printing money like crazy. So eventually, who knows when, but eventually things will turn upside down financially. And there's this massive shift that's going on right now that it's just rumbling behind the scenes, and we all feel it, but no one's really willing to talk about it amongst ourselves socially, where things are really shifting. Like you say, like small businesses, there's a jump trampoline place here in town where I'm at, where the kids can go jump around on trampolines, endless trampolines. And when COVID-19 shut them down, of course, the landlord didn't give them any grace on their lease payments. So here they are having to pay thousands of dollars every single month with no revenue coming in. Small businesses are being crushed right now. So what's the bright side of all this? Well, we all have the ability to turn a moment into something quite powerful in our lives. And that's actually the profound timing of what I'm doing here with Unlisted project with the Bitcoin trading is anyone, whether it's an entrepreneur who wants something on the side as a contingency plan, or it's an individual who's an employee who's concerned, and rightly so, about the uncertainty of employment 1 to 5 years from now because of the economic times that we're in. We all need to make sure that if we're providing for people who depend upon us, our providing needs to be more than one layer deep. We need to be more of a warrior and make sure that we have those contingency plans in place. That's why I'm excited to help people out with this. If you have $5,000, then look up unlisted.io and check out what we're doing. And it might be something that resonates with you.
Yeah. It sounds very futuristic and also incredibly relevant. And I can tell how passionate you are about it. And, there is no reward. I mean, isn't there that quote, fortune favors the bold? So I'll throw that one in there.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, you got to march forward and take some risks along the way. And sometimes it works out and sometimes it doesn't. But, you know, in every football game, Judd, when your team is right there in the red zone, staring at the end zone, that's where I'm putting you right now, because I know you have a game-winning touchdown in your arsenal of stories that you haven't shared with us yet. So there are 30 seconds left on the clock. You are down by 4 points. Judd, it is third down and it is now or never. Tell us that story about the time when you metaphorically ran the ball into the end zone for the game-winning touchdown.
When everything came together, that was JayBird, because we went through so much tribulation. And that's the story of football and of sport, is we love the struggle. Why? Because we relate to that. We all feel like the underdog in life because we are, like, everything's against us. And it's that great story of championships where you see a team pull together and don't let their differences divide them, and they unite and they go against all odds, against all teams, and amongst all the tribulation and the injuries and the setbacks, they let their mindset and they let their heart and they let their purpose drive them to something really great. And that is the story of our own personal lives. And that's why there's something in it for us. And that's why we love it. And JayBird was that exact same story. We were just no one. We had no money going up against the giants of Beats and Bose. And when you polish what you have and you become the best, possibly the best possible thing and the best possible offering you can offer the world. And our headphones got to a point where they were miles ahead of anything else. That's when all your customers rally behind you and they make it really, they become your megaphone, and you can do things that just you never thought possible. So that's just one illustration of what can be done when you really set your mind to something and pull together as a team. Yeah.
I love that. You walk your talk. I mean, you are the epitome of a positive thinker, of an optimist, of somebody who lives and breathes possibility. And again, the true mark of an entrepreneur. I liked how you distinguished there are people that live in the past, there are people that live in the present, and then there's the rest of the people, very small percentage, but enough to make a difference, where always looking ahead, what's possible. And I put you in that category. But you also learn from the past, right? That helps you inform you of moving forward. And that's really cool. And as we get towards the end here, Judd, I always ask each guest to share with us 1 to 3 key offensive strategies straight out of your leadership playbook that Team PYP could use right away to make some kind of forward progress in their work and or their life. What could you share with us?
Well, the great Les Brown, he gave a really great presentation once. He called it "It's Possible." And there are just good things that are meant to happen to all of us. There is something special in all of us, and there is greatness in us. So it truly is possible for us to realize our dreams. That's number 1. Number 2, it's necessary. You just won't be your most joyful self. You won't be your most fulfilled self until you find that purpose and that mission and that dream that's sitting on the shelf collecting dust. Until you get that down, until you start working at it, you're just not going to be your most happy self. So it's necessary for you that you go after it. And then it's you. It's your dream. It's your vision. And there's going to be people around you who just can't see it for themselves. So they can't see it for you. So they're going to try to convince you that you can't do it, that it's not possible, because it's their belief set that they're trying to reflect on you, and they're just trying to keep you safe. So don't judge them for that. That's just their belief set. Go after it. You know you can do it, and it's going to start with you. It's going to finish with you, and it's your dream and vision. No one else is going to have that same visibility that you have, you know?
Yeah.
Those are really powerful principles.
They really are. I'm really curious. Do your children, you have 4 children, are they as positive and upbeat as you because you've taught them to be that way?
We're all ourselves, you know, coming into this world.
True story. I have 2 of my own. I know.
And each one of our 4 children are so different to the other ones, but it's really cool to see them take chances and take risks and be okay when the things don't roll out. I love seeing that. It means that we've been able to give them a yes, where it's okay to fail and it's okay to just experiment and try things out. And it's just a fun process. We're just still excavating and discovering who we are. It's great to see them do that.
Yeah. Well, we do that our whole life, right? You should be excavating and discovering until the end.
Absolutely. Yes.
Oh, it's fabulous. Well, they are certainly fortunate to have you as their dad. And I just love your energy. And for people who want to learn more about you, Judd, and these opportunities that you have, what's the best way for them to connect with you online?
Well, website is juddarmstrong.com, JUDD. And Instagram is at juddarmstrong.com. So those are two great places to come check out what I'm doing. I've got the Unlisted app, which is about the Bitcoin trading, and we've got the Jump app, which is all about those 2-minute mind movies before you go to sleep and as you wake up. If you really want to change your life, turn that no into a yes. Check out the Jump app. It's coming out in the next couple of months.
Love it. And team, the links to connect with Judd will be on his show notes page over at pyppodcast.com. Also, if you are listening on your smartphone, you'll be able to click a link right there in the details section under his episode and see what he is up to. I recommend getting to know him and just being around his energy. I mean, you could hear today, I'm feeling extremely energized right now, which is great for after lunch. I had lunch right before our chat, and I could tell from the video that I watched of you, Judd, that you were going to bring a lot of energy, and you did not disappoint me. And I know on behalf of Team PYP, you brought your A game, and for that, I'm so appreciative. And before we say goodbye, I ask each guest to share with us who your team is. It could be somebody from Australia. If you're a fan here in the States, who or what do you enjoy watching either live or on the telly?
Awesome. Well, because I've spent so much time here in Utah and because I love basketball, Utah Jazz.
Nice.
They had their great years and their really tough years for sure, but there's something about that team that is really fun to watch. So Utah Jazz.
Love it. Love it. And again, team, check out what Judd's up to in the world. Go to pyppodcast.com, connect with him, ask him questions. If anything, do something positive for yourself and start reprogramming your brain so that every day when you get out there and, play your position, which is what we advocate here, you'll have Judd's voice in your head encouraging you to keep going. And maybe one of those quotes, I'm going to find all those quotes you shared when I listened back to this, Judd. You really dropped some amazing ones, and I appreciate that greatly. And I appreciate you. So thank you for spending some time with us today.
Oh, Mary Lou, thanks. This has been a lot of fun. And, I was listening to a bunch of podcasts ahead of time, and I was looking forward to our chat because I love your energy too. You're a wonderful person. Thank you so much.
Hey team, Mary Lou here. Who's number one in football changes from year to year. Fashion trends come and go, same with musical tastes. But leadership skills, they never go out of style. In fact, these days, leadership is an essential survival skill for a world that demands more from us than ever before. To succeed these days, you need to know how to show up for yourself so that you can then do the work you love with people you like the way you want. The Play Your Position Leadership Playbook helps you do this, and it's free. Go to pyppodcast.com to download your copy today. If being more successful this year, next year, in the 21st century is on your to-do list, get your copy of the Play Your Position Leadership Playbook now. pyppodcast.com. It's at the top of the page. You can't miss it. That's pyppodcast.com, and start being more of the leader you are meant to be today. This podcast was produced by Daniel Romeros. Show notes for this episode can be found over at pyppodcast.com. I'm Mary Lou Kayser. Thanks for listening.
Got a great key offensive strategy you like to share? Write to us at coach@pyppodcast.com or on Twitter, use #PYP and let us know how you're running your ball into the end zone for those game-winning touchdowns.